Alright, one package arrived today. It's going around to the back, or rather the front side from the back side. This is the package opening version of a reach around. But, you know, just trying to keep that shipping label on the bottom. Anyways, we got that stuff. And then we had some other stuff arrive. This one, of course, being a hentai title. Another soft sell Blu-ray hentai title. It's cool that that stuff's coming out. I think another one from, what's it called coming out? I don't know. So let's start getting through these. First up, we got Kaiba the Complete Series, which actually definitely interests me because, as you can see, I've already opened it to poke around a little bit. 2 discs, 1 Blu-ray. I do believe that's consistent with how Discotek tends to release some stuff. But I got the impression this series was done by, or was directed by somebody whose titles usually don't come here into the States, and this was one that people said was good, but probably wouldn't get a release. I could be mistaken, and I'm really looking forward to actually exploring it. I think, I went through it pretty quickly, but, you know, region A only, Japanese with English subtitles only, you know, that's fine. Not everything has to be dubbed. Next up, we've got Soul Link, complete TV series collection. This one is Japanese with English subtitles, as expected. It looks curious, but I could also see this one being a weaker series. Don't know much about it, just like the name. Kind of reminds me of Angel Links, but I guess it's just the link in the name. You don't tend to see that in a whole lot of shows. Next we got Drifters, battling a brand new world war. Yeah, I mean, this is from the creators behind Hellsing. I pretty much knew that. Let's see, region A, looks like this is English dubbed. So this could be good, or might not be worth the time. I don't know. It's a curiosity, but considering how much I haven't caught up on other things that have come out recently that I am interested in, it probably, I wouldn't be surprised if this one slips. Unless somebody I know very directly wants me to watch it with them, which is not likely to happen. I guess I didn't identify. That says DVD, that says DVD, so these are the DVDs. These are the Blu-rays. There's a lot of people fighting. Not that that's necessarily bad, but it is kind of hard. You know, when it says from the creators behind Hellsing, it doesn't exactly make you think, oh yes, this is from the creators behind Hellsing. Yeah, because Hellsing was more than just the violence. Next we got Dragon Ball Super. It doesn't say Z. Yeah, this is part 2 with Golden Frieza, which makes me think that it finishes up the story arc that the last one started and starts up the next one related to stuff. But yeah, I'm mostly looking forward to catching up, seeing if the pacing for this works out really well, because I think Resurrection F I didn't think was as good as Battle of the Gods, but it wasn't as drawl as most of the DBZ movies, you know, because it kind of represents a good something or the other. This is region A, should be English dubbed, yeah, with Japanese subtitles, Japanese with English subtitles as an option, of course. Anyways, part of me wonders if Resurrection F would actually be more interesting if it was, there's that big of a rush too. If it was paced differently. Battle of the Gods, I thought, you know, I liked the pacing that the series was getting better. I guess it says more about my taste than about it necessarily being better. But I'm wondering if Resurrection F is definitely better because of that. Yeah, let's do this one. Danganropa, the end of Hope's Peak High School Despair arc. There's another one. I don't remember what it's called. It was really confusing because there were 2 Danganronpa 3s released at the same time this week. The other one shipped, and I think it arrives tomorrow. Oh, jeez. It's very different on the underside. So let's see. Region A, English dub. And this is a curiosity, especially if it's a continuation of the last one I watched, which I don't think it is. Maybe an alternative version. I have to look at names of stuff. And this may be a 3rd arc, and the other one is a 2nd arc, and I don't know. I'm completely lost. I have to figure out what is what, but I'm only going to worry about that after we get the one I'm expecting. So if we take a look on the inside, we've got Blu-ray, DVD, and our cast of characters. None of them strike me as familiar, so I suspect, unless he's supposed to be, I don't know, whatever. And then last but not least, we have Hinako the Complete Collection, which is only like, what, a handful of 2 or 3 OVAs or something like that. But I've been kind of curious about this one. I'm surprised it actually got a release, because, you know, it's usually like exercising with Hinako and sleeping with Hinako or something like that. 3 episodes. See, I'm looking down there. That says 3 episodes. Region A, Japanese with English subtitles. I don't think you should do it any other way. And, you know, the idea is, again, you know, it's nice and simple. Although, if that's another character, then I'm maybe not 100% sure what all it is. I thought, okay, training, sleeping, bath time. Well, anyways, it's supposed to be very fan servicey, and I just find the concept overall hilarious. Anyways, there's this week's anime DVD collection update. Alright, I guess there was some good anime watching that happened. First of all, Monster Musume. I think last week I had probably finished watching, maybe it was all 12 episodes of the TV series and the 2 OVAs. And if I hadn't watched the OVAs, well, I have watched those now, and I also watched I guess it's a collection of 60 shorts, but it's really weird when you're watching them off the Blu-ray because it just kind of clip after clip after clip, and you lose track really quickly. Overall, good series, fun stuff. I think there was amusing things about all of them. I think, like, some of the strengths of this anime are the characters of the harem themselves. They're just fascinating. They make you kind of wonder questions, and the show doesn't answer all of them, but it does explore some things here and there. And so it kind of satisfies you in that regard. But even them as personalities, they're pretty good, because the interactions with them and the main guy is fun, and them with each other is fun. And overall, you know, it felt like every part of it kind of contributed to a lot of that giving you what you enjoy sort of stuff. So I kind of wonder why I wouldn't consider this a top tier harem, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's the thought I was having. You know, I'm trying to remember just off the cobwebs, even though it hasn't even been a week. And I don't think I mentioned anything about it last time, but something about it felt off or incomplete, and I think I have put my finger on what it is. I was actually just realizing that computer here was off, so it's not a big deal. Anyways, if I were to put my finger on it, it kind of doesn't quite feel intimate enough. And this may be a personal preference sort of thing cropping up. And I think I kind of realized that because I've been watching Monogatari, or rather, I've been re-watching Monogatari, and he's been watching it for the first time, and we're in the 2nd season, and it has all these moments where you feel like the characters' relationships mean something from a relationship perspective, so each member of the harem kind of makes sense, even if it doesn't necessarily feel like your stereotypical harem per se. So I was just realizing that I didn't get a whole lot of that feeling from Monster Musume. It had little moments here and there, so it's not bad, but maybe that's kind of what it's missing, because as it introduces more characters, it spends a lot more of its time with them kind of colliding with each other, as opposed to feeling like a relationship is there with the main character. And that may also just be what it has to be, because they're trying to make it where the main guy isn't really like notable. They're trying to, I mean, it sounded to me, my friend had heard, so this is like a friend of a friend of a friend, or a source of a source of a source, said something like they originally wanted, or the author originally wanted him to have a no face at all. You know, with the entire idea being that he's not the important one in the show, and I think that actually makes sense to a degree. But at the same time, there's something to be said about watching a show and feeling the characters really connect, and feeling the emotion there, and then, you know, experiencing vicariously through them and enjoying it because of that. So overall, Monster Musume was a pretty good watch. If there was more that came out, I'd definitely watch more of it. If there's not, I guess I'll be okay with it. I like the idea that it plays with, you know, it feels like it's kind of pushing interesting boundaries, and it does a really good job of doing that. I went back to Chihayafuru because, I mean, I stopped it in order to watch Monster Musume because of the notability of Monster Musume, but the show wasn't bad as far as I'd watched. It was actually kind of interesting. I was curious to see where it would go, and I'm not disappointed with the first season, but it kind of felt like the overall payoff of the first season wasn't a payoff so much as a setup for the second season. I'd have to watch the second season through to find out, and I think there's a second season, but, you know, that's the way it is. It wasn't bad what was there, but it didn't feel like there was payoff to watching it, like maybe the outcome from watching something in the future. And I don't think this is something that's necessarily unusual. I would probably put this more in the sports anime category, although it's a very shoujo-esque sports anime at that. But it's interesting because there's a lot of shoujo anime which introduces a girl with a very interesting concept, but for lack of better words, it devolves into the relationships stuff. And I'm using the word devolve not necessarily because it's subjectively worse, so much as it's more objectively not about the gimmick that they introduced with the girl, and they don't lose their focus as much with this one. It very much leaves you wondering where that relationship stuff is and doesn't explore it, and that could be a weakness to some people, I think. But overall, it means that they had an idea that they thought would be interesting for a main character, and they stuck with it, which is good. And then that thing is very competitive, and that brings in the sports-like aspect of it. Some stuff I kind of question, not as badly as like Special A and the one girl who's trying to be better than the one guy at anything, period. But if she gets 100 on a test, he gets more than 100 because he corrects an error and gets bonus points or something like that. And, you know, it's funny, but it's kind of moving through the tropes as if Special A doesn't understand all that stuff, because her cooking ability is poor. Now, if we just assume that he never competed, even if we assumed if he never competed with her at cooking, you know, maybe he never did, there is still the problem with it where I can't believe that somebody would be that lack of attention to detail and still get 100s on math tests, which is something, you know, they, you know, is one of the many things she did. And the truth of the matter is, math requires some pretty intense focus, attention, and interpretation of what is being written down in front of you. And if she's getting 100s on math tests, that seems completely contrary to the airhead personality that they want to give when it comes to her trying to cook something. So, I don't know. That's kind of on the side. It's not something I watched this week, and I'm getting off track of watching this. This one, I don't know. I thought the characters were nice. Again, my only problem was that at the very beginning, the first couple of episodes were flashbacks to childhood that showed how she got into it and her relationship with two important other guys in the series. And, well, one of them was just a complete dick. And it wasn't completely easy to see things from her perspective per se. And unlike modern day her, there isn't this energy about her that makes her kind of enjoyable to watch, makes you want to watch more, to see her do it more. It's you know, so okay, it's not the perfect beginning, but that's fine. Plenty of shows don't have great beginnings, and you know, like I said, this one doesn't necessarily have a great ending because it's not intended to be ended here. But it's definitely set things up so that I want to see what's in season 2. Assuming there is a season 2. I hope there's a season 2. Although who knows, by the time that comes out on DVD Blu-ray, what will I have forgotten? Maybe my priorities but will be weirdly elsewhere. I mean, like, Hyouka was the other thing I watched. I didn't watch all of it, everything on the first disc. So I got some good anime watching in this week. I guess taking a small-ish break from Splatoon helped a lot, right? And what's there to cover? Okay, so I'm not sure how much I remember about the intricate details of everything that happened in the first season. Just, I think the important overall points, and so I was kind of able to get back on track with what they were trying to do at the beginning of this. And it was entertaining. I'm trying to think of maybe the stuff that I've seen so far, and this has been more entertaining than that, and that could be a kind of gaining steam sort of thing. And the nice thing is it's not kind of out of control or anything like that. It's still kind of a, I'm calling it a down-to-earth mystery, but that sounds like I'm saying it's down-to-earth and it's a mystery, but it's actually more like the mysteries are very down-to-earth. They're not super complicated things. Like, one of the episodes, there is an announcement over the speaker, and our main guy is trying to prove to the girl that no, he's not some sort of super detective reasoner or something like that. And so they spend the episode kind of talking about what was meant by that brief little thing they heard. And, you know, that's one of those things where there's implications of kind of big deals behind the scenes, but nothing that's like changing the world or even changing their lives. It's just kind of a discussion about that thing and its implications, and an interesting narrowing down of ideas based on the concepts provided. And I have to say, actually, in that regard, I kind of like it a little better than Ghostsick, I think, because with this, you're not dealing with people who think they're better than other people, and oh, well, they happen to observe this thing that they happen to not show on camera, which I think Ghostsick maybe did sometimes. Yeah, there's some things which I can only call lucky ass pulls, and there's only so many of those you can really get away with per se. And I don't want to go into too much detail in that regard because, you know, you might be watching it, but I kind of like the reasoning in Hyouka flows more naturally, and the cleverness comes from the evolution of the ideas as they narrow in on, I guess, the goal is what I'm going to say for lack of better words. And Ghostsick doesn't have that goal in mind. So it's kind of weird. I've done some anime comparisons between a couple of things, and I don't know. I guess that's kind of the nice thing. That said, Ghostsick is somewhere in the piles over here, so I think that's still a high priority watch. I just have to decide where it lies in relation to Kaiba and maybe Dragon Ball Super, but Dragon Ball Super can wait around for a while. My friend might eventually catch up to me on that because I'm only past the first volume. Anyways, I've got the last disc of this. I don't know if there's more seasons, but overall I'm looking forward to finishing this. 22 episodes, huh? I wonder. Oh well, I'm not going to think too loud on camera and waste y'all's time. Outside of that, is there anything really noteworthy to say? I don't know. Part of the reason I was able to get through a lot of Chihayafuru is because this weekend, well, technically a week or two ago, my mom went back to playing Starmade. She was having a lot of trouble losing a ship here, not sure how to configure things there. Space pirates were showing up a lot, but because I set her up on a space station with like half a dozen turrets or something like that, she's fine. You know, they managed to eventually ward them off before they can get through the shields or anything like that. So last week I sent her a video from an old tutorial I had made, which I knew was out of date, which is why I wasn't sending them to her, because I didn't know what information was still relevant. But she was looking at other tutorials, not making heads or tails, so I sent her that, and an hour later she was like, okay, yeah, I figured out how to finally put together an initial salvage ship, because I had forgotten. And that led into me going in on Friday just to look at all the old stuff I had created, and then finding out that there was a new mechanism they had introduced for transferring cargo between docking rails. In particular, they had made special docking rails for it, and Friday I found that out before I went to bed. Saturday I tried to figure out what was going on, or how to do it, had no luck, couldn't spend a lot of time on it because Monogatari just takes a lot of attention. I mean, it draws you in, prevents you from really doing anything else, period. Maybe getting to the fridge to get some water or something like that. But basically, before going to bed Saturday night, I kind of understood which portions of the mechanism I was missing. So I meant all day Sunday I was in Starmade, and I have a carrier with 104 little tiny salvaging ships. It's rather neat, I think. But basically it means that in order to update that to use the new mechanism, because they're little salvage ships, so I really need it to, I had to do like a dozen different things 104 times, because there's 104 of those, right? So, that basically meant all day Sunday doing that, but I could have Chihayafuru on, and it didn't require as intense intention as like Splatoon, which tends to draw my attention away when salmon runs are happening, so I'm trying to keep up on those. I don't know. Is this stuff that's actually that? Yeah, I don't know. If there's anything else to mention, is there anything else to mention? Well, I did, with my brother, finally catch up to the latest Steven Universe. That's a pretty good show. If you haven't seen it, I'm not sure how many episodes is a good number to say, to give, and to be fair, if you did start watching it, didn't enjoy what you were seeing for a couple of episodes, maybe it's not the kind of show you would enjoy, but it's a neat show. But I guess I can't think of anything else to talk about. Y'all, have a nice week.